Well, if you haven't planted a fall vegetable garden and you've got some areas that are bare soil, now is a good time to start thinking about planting a cover crop for the winter months. Now, cover crops are great to help the soil in your garden, and I highly recommend, if you have bare soil that you don't have something growing in, to put a cover crop in. Now, reasons to plant cover crops are quite many, and one of the great reasons is that they act as a cover, thus the name a cover crop. If you have a good stand of a cover crop, such as a legume, wheat, or rye, what happens is that will shade out any unwanted weeds. Those weed seeds don't get light, they won't germinate, and you won't have a nice stand of henbit in your garden bed. One of the other reasons that a cover crop is great is that the roots penetrate the soil and can help break that soil up and loosen it up, and also it adds a lot of organic matter to the soil, both from the roots and from the top of the crop when you actually work that into the soil in the spring. Now, working a cover crop into the soil is what a lot of people term a green manure. It's a green crop that is planted specifically just to turn into the soil, and this will also help add a lot of nutrients back into the soil, as well as a lot of organic matter. Now, as I talk about nutrients in the soil, if you plant a leguminous cover crop, legumes such as clover, peas, alfalfa, those plants will actually manufacture or fix nitrogen, so they help add nitrogen to the soil. But if you plant a non-leguminous cover crop, that's kind of hard to say, like wheat or rye, that doesn't mean that it's a bad cover crop, because what these plants actually can do is they can help bring up nutrients that are in the lower levels of the soil up into the area of soil where they will be beneficial to your vegetable crops. They also act as trap crops for nutrients that are mobile in the soil, nutrients that might run off when it rains. These plants will actually use those nutrients they'll be in the green matter, and when you work that back into the soil, they've stayed in that area and they haven't run off and run downstream. The other benefit of cover crops is that they will prevent soil erosion. If you leave this area bare all winter long, we have severe rains and it's on any amount of slope at all, we can lose a lot of soil that way. And also, if it gets very dry and windy, we can lose soil that way. So if you have a cover crop there, it can help prevent soil erosion. So there are a lot of benefits for putting in a cover crop. Now, I've spoken of planting cover crops in an area where you've had a vegetable garden or a flower garden and you want to put a cover crop in. But another good place, a really good place, is if you're just now starting some new flower beds, you've gotten your Bermuda already out of there or whatever weeds you have, that's a good time to put a cover crop in and get that soil really worked up well so that you can use it next spring. So if you've got some new beds that you're wanting to put in, now would be a good time to put a cover crop in. Now, as we talk about cover crops, you basically prepare the soil just like you were going to plant a vegetable crop. So you want to have a nice seed bed here. We've worked this up and we have our clods worked down and we've got a lot of good moisture in here. That's really important because the idea behind a cover crop is to have a good stand. So you want to have a nice seed bed here so you get a good stand. The other thing that you want to do is while if you plant a legume as a cover crop, like your clovers or something like that, you're not going to need extra nitrogen because they actually fix their own nitrogen. However, if you should plant wheat or rye, you need to add some fertilizer. Now you might think, gosh, I'm wasting fertilizer. If I left that bare, I wouldn't have to use that fertilizer. However, the benefits that you get from the extra growth on your cover crop from just fertilizing a little bit will really help. So we've got our seed bed worked up here. Now the next thing that we want to do is plant, and we're actually going to plant rye in this bed. Now planting wheat and rye, again, I told you that they are really good as far as adding organic matter to the soil. Also, they really cover well, and that's one of the benefits of these is they can give you some fast cover, and also especially the rye is very winter hardy, so you'll have a good stand here all winter long. Now the seeding rate that I'm using for the rye is about a pound per 100 square feet. Now we have a list here of minimum seeding rates for cover crops such as clover, rye, and wheat, and those are minimum rates. Now you can actually double or even quadruple those rates to get a good stand. Now you want to plant your cover crop anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks before the first freeze. So about mid-September to the end of September is a good time to do that so that you'll get a good stand before we start getting some really hard freezes. Now the cereal rye, which I'm planting here, can actually even be planted about 4 weeks before the first freeze. So it comes up even later, but any of your legumes, you probably want to start about 6 weeks before the first frost. Now when I talk about cereal rye, that's not ryegrass seed that you're wanting to put in. This is cereal rye, and you can see here it looks very much like wheat. And a particular variety of cereal rye called Elbin has an added bonus in that it actually acts as a trap crop for root knot nematodes. So if you have a root knot nematode problem in your garden, you might try planting some Elbin cereal rye, and it won't eliminate the nematodes entirely. However, it can help reduce nematode populations. Now, as you can see here, I'm just basically sprinkling my seed evenly over the bed here. What I'm going to do is come back and I'm going to just gently rake this in, no deeper than about 1/2 inch into the soil, and that'll give it some good cover. And then I'm going to come back and lightly water this in. Now you're going to want to watch the water very carefully, especially if it's still hot when you start to plant your cover crops, and you may need to kind of moisten that seed bed up a couple times a day until those seedlings get up and growing. Now after they've got a good root system on them, you won't have to water quite so much. And for a lot of cover crops, just with our average fall and winter rains, they should be okay. Now if we go into a couple week period without rain, you'll want to add some extra water here during the fall. Now we've got our seeds all in here, and we've got fertilizer on. Now again, I said putting some fertilizer on, you can either do that before you plant your seed, or you can do it right after as a top dressing. But about a pound of 10-20-10 per 100 square foot area is a good rate of fertilizer to put on either your rye or your wheat. Now I'm going to go ahead and rake this in, and then we'll turn the water on and gently water it in, and we'll pretty much be done. Now if you use a legume, the other thing that you need to remember is that you need to use an inoculant. This is a beneficial bacteria that helps the legumes fix nitrogen, and it also helps with the germination rate. And you need to use that inoculant, and they're specific to the specific type of crop that you have. So be sure that you have the right inoculant and put that on your legumes and then plant them, much as we did here with our rye. So anyway, right now is a great time to be getting your cover crop beds ready to go so that you can really improve your soil. Now if you're looking for seed for your cover crops, you can check your local mill seed supplier, also your garden centers, and I have a catalog here that is a good source for all sorts of different types of cover crops. This is Peaceful Valley Farm Supply. So if you can't find any cover crops locally, you might try ordering from here because they have a nice selection of cover crop seed. So anyway, to benefit your soil, get those cover crops in now.
We hope you've enjoyed this classic from the Oklahoma Gardening Vault. Remember, even though these tips and techniques are timeless, there's always something new to learn in the world of gardening. By subscribing to both Oklahoma Gardening and OK Gardening Classics, you'll have access to a wealth of gardening knowledge, both classic and contemporary.